Vladimir Putin, the man who redefined Russia. Is he a visionary leader restoring Russia's global power, or an authoritarian ruler tightening his grip on the nation? Is he a master strategist or a controversial figure leading Russia into isolation? Few leaders in modern history have ruled as long and as decisively as Vladimir Putin. From his early days as a KGB agent to becoming the longest-serving Russian leader since Stalin, Putin has shaped his country's destiny for over 2 decades. Loved by some, feared by others, and watched by the entire world, his story is a powerful example of how one man's leadership can change the course of history. How did he rise to power? What keeps him in control? And what does the future hold for Russia under his rule? Let's dive deep into the fascinating and complex journey of Vladimir Putin. Early life, from a Soviet childhood to the KGB. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Soviet Union. He grew up in a working-class family. His father, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, was a factory worker and a World War II veteran, while his mother, Maria Ivanovna Putina, was a homemaker. Life in post-war Leningrad was difficult. The city had suffered heavy destruction during World War II, and resources were scarce. Putin was a small but tough child, often getting into fights and showing a strong personality from a young age. In his teenage years, he became interested in martial arts, particularly judo and sambo, and he later earned a black belt in judo. This discipline and competitive spirit would shape his leadership style. But his real passion lay elsewhere: espionage and intelligence work. Inspired by Soviet spy novels, Putin dreamed of becoming a KGB officer. After graduating from Leningrad State University in 1975 with a degree in law, he achieved his goal. He was recruited into the KGB, the Soviet Union's powerful intelligence agency. Putin's KGB years, learning the art of power. Putin spent 16 years in the KGB, specializing in counterintelligence and foreign intelligence. His most notable assignment was in Dresden, East Germany, during the Cold War. He witnessed firsthand the collapse of communist rule in Eastern Europe, including the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. During this time, Putin developed a deep understanding of political maneuvering, secrecy, and control. However, he was also deeply affected by the Soviet Union's decline. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, he left the KGB and returned to St. Petersburg, uncertain about his future. From unknown bureaucrat to political power. In St. Petersburg, Putin worked for Anatoly Sobchak, the city's mayor, as an advisor and later deputy mayor. Sobchak was one of the first Russian politicians to embrace democracy and capitalism after the fall of the USSR. Putin's loyalty, discipline, and ability to solve problems impressed many in Russia's new government. In 1996, he moved to Moscow, where he quickly climbed the ranks in President Boris Yeltsin's administration. By 1998, Putin was appointed head of the FSB, the modern successor to the KGB. A year later, in 1999, Yeltsin unexpectedly named Putin as prime minister. Then, on December 31, 1999, Boris Yeltsin resigned and Vladimir Putin became acting president of Russia. It was a moment that changed Russia's history forever. Putin's early presidency, 2008, rebuilding Russia. In March 2000, Putin won his first presidential election, promising to restore Russia's strength, end corruption, and improve the economy. During his first 2 terms as president, Russia experienced economic growth, largely due to rising oil and gas prices. Putin's leadership style was firm and centralized, focusing on stability and national pride. Key achievements: 2000-2008 rebuilt the Russian economy, GDP grew, and poverty rates decreased. Strengthened the military, increased defense spending, and restructured the armed forces. Restored government control over Russian media and major industries. Cracked down on separatism, launched military campaigns in Chechnya to suppress independence movements. However, critics accused Putin of limiting democracy, silencing opposition, and consolidating power. In 2004, he re-elected with over 70% of the vote, but many questioned the fairness of Russian elections under his rule. By 2008, Russia's constitution prevented him from serving a third consecutive term, so he stepped down and became prime minister under Dmitry Medvedev, who took over as president. However, many believe that Putin still controlled Russia from behind the scenes. Return to power, 2012 present. A new era of Russian politics. In 2012, Putin ran for president again and won. His return marked a more aggressive and nationalist approach to Russian politics. His leadership in the 2010s was defined by a confrontation with the West, military expansion, and economic challenges. Major events under Putin's second presidency: annexation of Crimea, 2014. After political unrest in Ukraine, Russia took control of Crimea, leading to international sanctions. Syria intervention, 2015. Russia sent military forces to support Bashar al-Assad, strengthening its role in the Middle East. Alleged election interference, 2016. The U.S. accused Russia of interfering in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, an allegation Moscow denied. Constitutional changes, 2020. A referendum allowed Putin to extend his presidency until 2036, effectively removing term limits. Ukraine conflict, 2022 to present. Russia's military invasion of Ukraine led to heavy sanctions and global condemnation, reshaping its relationship with the world. Putin's popularity remains strong among many Russians, but internationally he is viewed with controversy and criticism. Putin's leadership style. Strongman or strategic genius. Putin's leadership is often described as authoritarian, but also highly strategic. His key characteristics include nationalism. He presents himself as Russia's defender against Western influence. Control over media. Russian state TV supports his government's messages. Silencing opposition. Many critics, including Alexei Navalny, have been jailed or forced into exile. Military strength. He prioritizes defense, often showing Russia's military power on the global stage. Diplomatic maneuvering. He builds alliances with China, Iran, and other non-Western countries. His supporters see him as a strong leader who restored Russia's power, while critics argue that his policies limit democracy and harm Russia's global standing. The future of Putin and Russia. In 2024, Putin won another presidential election, extending his rule. With constitutional changes allowing him to stay in power until 2036, many wonder, will he ever step down? What is Russia's future under his leadership? How will global tensions with the West evolve? One thing is certain: Vladimir Putin has shaped Russia's modern identity, and his influence will be felt for decades to come. The legacy of Vladimir Putin. A nation transformed. A world divided as one of the most powerful and controversial figures of the 21st century. Vladimir Putin has redefined Russia's political landscape, economy, and global influence. Under his leadership, Russia has regained its status as a formidable force. But at what cost? His supporters hail him as a strong leader who restored national pride, while his critics warn of growing authoritarianism, restricted freedoms, and strained relations with the West. Will Putin continue to hold power beyond 2030? How will history judge his legacy? And what does the future look like for Russia and the world under his leadership? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Vladimir Putin has left an indelible mark on history, and his influence will be felt long after his time in office ends. What do you think about Vladimir Putin's leadership? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most powerful leaders.